Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another crypto market update. My name is Brendan from Crypto 101, and I hope everyone is off to a good day. I know that there is a lot of volatility and a lot of negativity happening in the crypto market, but what I want to do here in today's video is not only break down everything that is happening to help you understand why the crypto markets are falling, but also show you a lot of the positives that are still happening behind the scenes that are probably going unheard of because of really just prices falling a little bit more than we are used to. So we're going to take a look at the charts. We're going to take a look at the news. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And all that we ask is that if you like the content, consider hitting that like button and consider hitting that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's just take a quick look at the charts here first, because that's probably what people are the most concerned with. Why are my assets, why is my money going down in value, and why is it not going up? When a lot of people thought that the first half this year would actually be Bitcoin skyrocketing to 150, 200, 250K. And that's really not what we're seeing, and the altcoin market just continues to get hit a lot harder than even Bitcoin is. So what's happening over here? Because in the past couple of days, really going back from last Friday, Bitcoin was at 100K. And as of today, Bitcoin fell down to $85,000. So why are we seeing this almost $15,000 drop in Bitcoin? And if we take a look at like Ethereum and some of these other players, it's arguably even bigger. I mean, we're seeing a 20% drop almost in Ethereum. We're seeing about a 25 to 30% drop in Solana. Even XRP continues to kind of tumble over here about 20 to 25%. So, why is this happening to the crypto market? And we're going to get into that in just a second, but I want to make sure that we first touch on all the positives, because there's a lot of people out there who are just immediately going to kick things off and be like, here's all the negatives that are going on. And I want to make sure everyone understands what those are and why this is happening. But let's first talk about a couple of the positives that no one is talking about. And first things first, a lot of this has to do with the SEC. Just recently, just last week, the SEC came out and said, hey, we're dropping our charges against Coinbase. We are dropping the Coinbase lawsuit, and this was a big deal. Coinbase is arguably the largest, most notable exchange in the world, and they are a powerhouse, right? They're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and so with the SEC dropping this, it sets a huge standard for the rest of the industry. And I think the common belief here was, hey, this is going to be the first of many. Who's going to be next? Is it going to be XRP? Is it going to be, maybe some of the stuff that was happening with Crypto.com and Kraken and these other players? Well, we officially have our answer now, because if we go over and we take a look at what's happening with Uniswap, they were the next one on this list in a good way. So the SEC has now dropped the Uniswap Labs investigation as we continue to see a lot of crypto-friendly push coming out of the SEC. Again, this is a good thing. This is what we were expecting going into this year, saying, hey, we're going to see a lot of these negative SEC cases dry up, and crypto is going to be able to succeed and do things that it hasn't been able to do before. And we've already started to see that. And there's several great examples of this. With Avalanche, we have the AVAX 9000 upgrade. With Jupiter, we have the new buyback and burn mechanism. With Lido, we have the new V3, and so on and so forth. So I think that ultimately, as we look at the policy situation of crypto, especially from a regulatory standpoint, things are getting better. We're now seeing the Coinbase lawsuit dropped. We're now seeing a lot of the Uniswap stuff drop. And people are even looking at Uniswap to potentially be one of these next upgrades with the new Unichain. And there's even rumors that they want to add some sort of like buyback and burn mechanism, or even profit sharing mechanism as well. But I think a lot of that really is just speculation of what people want to see, and it might not be a reality of what we're actually going to see by the end of this year. The point that I'm trying to make is that, again, the regulatory environment is so pro-crypto in comparison to what it used to be that you can't help but look at a lot of this stuff and be really optimistic. Now, kind of fitting into the same narrative, we are continuing to see a ton of different cryptocurrency ETFs just flood in with applications. Altcoins are really where the big push is now, right? We've seen Solana, Litecoin, Cardano, XRP, and now we're seeing Polkadot ETFs. I mean, you name it. And there is an altcoin ETF for just about every mainstream altcoin coming in. Now, why is this happening? Well, there's very clearly a demand for it. I've had the great pleasure of speaking with several of these ETF providers, and that is what they've told me. They said, hey, there's a clear demand for altcoin ETFs, and that's why we want them to be here in the first place. And their kind of end goal is they want to have so many different altcoin ETFs that they can actually create an index fund where they pool all of them together so that investors can come and get access to either a specific one or a collective group of them if they so choose to do that. Just like you can go over to the stock market and buy a single stock, a specific stock, or you can even buy something like the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 or the Russell or the Dow Jones or anything like that. And they want to create a set of indices, I guess we could call it, where you can either get altcoin exposure as a whole or you can get specific exposure if that is what you prefer. So again, a lot of really cool stuff that is still happening behind the scenes. I actually saw that one of the first crypto index funds that pulls Bitcoin and Ethereum together in a weighted pool was just actually approved and has started trading on the markets as well. So there's a lot of big stuff that is happening behind the scenes that I think people need to pay attention to. And unfortunately, they aren't paying attention to it because the prices are falling in kind of this more volatile way that they have been lately. However, let's go ahead and actually talk about what's happening here in the markets. And I think Matt Hogan put it just about as good as you could have. So what he said here is that the crypto markets are digesting the end of the meme coin era as we know it. And he goes on to clarify that this crypto crash that we're seeing isn't the result of a single catalyst. And instead, this is actually a bunch of different catalysts that are just happening at the same time. So if we take a look at what's happened with the Trump token and the Melania token and the Libra token being by far the worst of them all, and now what's happening with Lazarus Group stealing nearly $1.5 billion in Ethereum from Bybit, there's just a lot of negativity. There's a lot of negative catalysts that are happening, and that's not even mentioning what we're seeing on the traditional side of things with the traditional stock market crashing in its own right. We're seeing a lot of fears around these tariffs. And now there's even FUD circulating around the topic of MicroStrategy and some of their positions. So again, it's not like there's just one thing that kind of caused the crypto market to go from hero to zero, figuratively speaking. There's a bunch of different things that are going on, and there's still a lot of other good things that are happening behind the scenes. In fact, this is the first time in a while where we've seen the fear and greed index go down to a 29. In fact, the last time that we saw this was all the way back in fall of last year around the time of September. And then the time before that actually isn't even on this fear and greed index chart, which means that we're essentially pushing down to a point where the fear and greed index is at the lowest point that we have seen, almost at the lowest point that we have seen in years on this chart. So again, when we're looking at terms of value, there's the famous Warren Buffett quote that says, buy when others are fearful and sell when others are greedy. And right now we are seeing the crypto market almost pushing from a level of fear to extreme fear, which again is not a level that we have seen in a very, very long time in the crypto markets. It has been years since we came back to this kind of extreme fear zone. And well, with the current state of it, we could certainly see it kind of coming back down to these lows. So if we see the fear and greed index drop below a 26, that will mean that it is at multi-year lows and some of what could potentially be some of the best buying opportunities that we've seen in a long time here in the crypto markets. So a little bit more information on what happened over here with Bybit, because I do think that this is one of the larger catalysts that is contributing to this recent kind of crypto fall, crypto crash, I guess, however we want to label it. To put this in, to show everyone just how big this was, this is the largest theft in history. And so if we compare this to what was previously the largest version of theft in history, that happened in 2003 when Saddam Hussein stole over $1 billion from the Iraqi central bank. And when we compare this to some of the other big crypto heists that we've seen in the past, this one just blows them out of the water. It's double, triple, quadruple what we've seen in the past. So the Poly network hack was around $611 million. The BSC token hub was around $582 million. The Rana network, which was massive, a lot of us remember that one from the last cycle, $540 million. The CoinCheck was $530, and so on and so forth. I mean, even the FTX one was $482 million. And so when we're looking at just how big this was, it was substantial. It was large. And so is it normal to have a fearful reaction after something of this size happened? I think the answer is yes. But the important thing that you have to remember is that we know, because it's on the Ethereum network, because it's on a blockchain, we know whose wallets those are, we know where the funds are, and people can now block them from interacting with anyone else. So they say, hey, this is the wallet that owns all that Ethereum that was stolen. We're not going to let them trade on our exchange. We're not going to let them interact with us. We aren't going to accept them. We're not going to barter with them because it's just self-destructive to the crypto ecosystem. So it's a lot of these different exchanges and people and institutions saying, we don't want to interact with these wallets because you're only going to hurt the whole crypto ecosystem, and we're all players in crypto. And so it's really the whole crypto industry banding together here and saying, hey, enough's enough. We don't want to interact with you, and no one's going to allow them to exchange those funds. And so governments are working on this. A lot of these big crypto players are working on this, but it is something to keep an eye on at the end of the day. So as we begin to wrap things up here and we take a look, keep an eye on these crypto levels. Again, we are seeing some red. It's certainly possible that we continue to see some more red. However, I do think that this could end up being one of the final flush outs before the crypto market turns around, and I have my eyes set really just a little bit lower. Again, hopefully we can bottom out here, but I do think it's possible that we kind of pull back to some of those previous lows, some of those previous highs on Bitcoin, maybe some of those previous lows on altcoins, but there's still a lot of exciting stuff that is happening behind the scenes. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, we're going to see all of you at the same time, same place next week. Now, if you want to get plugged in to a really great crypto community, we got an awesome link in the description down below for you. My good buddy Bryce Paul wrote a book called The Crypto Revolution, and you can check that out there. But if you want to get plugged into a great crypto community as well, we have Crypt Nation, where you can find thousands of other like-minded individuals that are talking about crypto and altcoins that they're researching and potential trade setups and so much more. So if that sounds like something that you've been wanting, go ahead and check us out over at Crypt Nation, and we'll see all of you next week.